The Pathfinder drifted through the darkness of space, its crew of 37 humans completely unaware that their simple exploration mission was about to change the course of galactic history forever. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the view screen. Earth lay 14 light-years behind them, a small blue dot they had left 6 months ago. The mission was simple: explore, document, and return. Nobody expected to find anything but rocks and gas giants. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez from his station. His fingers moved quickly across the holographic controls. "There's a massive energy signature ahead." "It's moving." Sarah leaned forward, her heart beating faster. "Moving? You mean it's a ship?" "I think so. But it's huge, Captain. Much bigger than anything we've ever built." The crew fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity had finally found proof that they were not alone in the universe. Sarah took a deep breath and straightened her uniform. "Open all communication channels. Every frequency we have. Let's say hello." The communication officer, a young woman named Lisa Park, nodded and began broadcasting. "This is the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We come in peace. We wish to establish friendly contact." They waited. Minutes passed like hours. Then something appeared on their screens. A ship emerged from behind a nearby asteroid, and it was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. It was enormous, shaped like a curved blade with glowing sections along its surface, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Captain, they're responding," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "But I can't understand it. The computer is trying to translate, but there's no reference point." Sarah nodded. "Keep trying. Send mathematical sequences, universal constants, anything that might—" "Captain!" Marcus shouted. "They're powering weapons." Red lights flashed across the bridge. The alien ship's surface began to glow brighter, and energy was building up in visible patterns along its hull. Sarah's mind raced. They had tried to communicate peacefully. Why would the aliens attack? "Shields up. Evasive maneuvers," Sarah commanded. The Pathfinder turned hard to the left, its engines burning at maximum power. But it was too late. Bright blue beams of energy shot from the alien ship, crossing the distance between them in an instant. The crew braced for impact, for the explosion that would tear their ship apart. But nothing happened. The blue energy hit the Pathfinder's hull and simply disappeared. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. It just vanished like water hitting a hot stone. Sarah stared at her tactical officer. "Report, what just happened?" Marcus looked at his instruments with confusion on his face. I don't know, Captain. Their weapons hit us directly. Multiple impacts. But there's no damage. Not even a scratch." "That's impossible," Sarah whispered. The alien ship fired again. This time, everyone watched as the energy beams struck the Pathfinder from multiple angles. The crew could see the blue light washing over their ship through the view screen. But again, nothing happened. The ship didn't shake. No alarms went off. The beams simply had no effect. "Captain, they're changing their weapons," Marcus reported. "Now they're firing some kind of red energy and something else. It looks like a particle stream." More weapons struck the Pathfinder. Red beams, green pulses, yellow waves of energy. The alien ship was throwing everything it had at the human vessel. The space around them lit up like a fireworks display. But the Pathfinder sailed through it all without a single system failing. Inside the ship, Engineer David Kim was running through every diagnostic he could think of. "This doesn't make any sense," he muttered to himself. "The energy is hitting us. The sensors detect it. But it's like the ship is made of air. The energy just passes through or disappears." On the bridge, Sarah made a decision. "Lisa, broadcast on all channels again. Tell them we don't want to fight. Tell them their weapons aren't working and we mean no harm." But the alien ship had stopped firing. It hung in space, silent and still. Then slowly it began to move backward away from the Pathfinder. "Captain, I'm picking up a massive energy burst from their ship," Marcus said. "Not weapons. It's a communication signal. Very powerful. They're broadcasting something to, I don't know, somewhere far away. Can you intercept it?" "Yes, but we can't translate it. Wait." The computer is picking up something. One phrase keeps repeating. It's translated as, "Immune species discovered." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Immune? The alien ship suddenly accelerated, moving away from them at incredible speed. Within seconds it was gone, disappearing into the darkness of space. The Pathfinder was alone again. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then Sarah sat down in her captain's chair, trying to process what had just happened. "Did we just survive first contact?" asked Lisa quietly. "I think so," Sarah replied. "But I don't think this is over." "Marcus, did you record everything?" "Yes, Captain. Every second. Good. Send it all back to Earth, maximum priority. They need to know what happened here." Sarah paused, staring at the empty space where the alien ship had been. "We need to know what happened here." David Kim came onto the bridge carrying a data pad. "Captain, I've been analyzing the weapons fire. I have a theory, but you're not going to believe it. Try me. I'll believe anything after what we just saw." David took a deep breath. "The alien weapons? They all use some form of exotic energy. Plasma, directed energy, particle beams. But they all have one thing in common. They rely on electromagnetic interaction at the quantum level to cause damage." "In English, David," Sarah said. "Sorry. What I mean is, their weapons don't work like bullets or explosions. They work by interacting with matter at a very small level, disrupting atoms and molecules. But human biology, and apparently our ship materials, don't interact with that kind of energy the way they expect. It's like we're invisible to their weapons, not because we're strong, but because we're different." Sarah understood. "So they can't hurt us?" "Not with energy weapons, at least. I don't know about physical weapons. Missiles, projectiles, things like that. But all their weapons were energy-based," Marcus added. "They didn't try anything physical." Sarah nodded slowly. "Which means they might not have anything physical to use. If their technology is all based on this exotic energy and we're immune to it." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Lisa spoke up, her voice worried. "Captain, if we're immune to their weapons, won't they see us as a threat?" The question hung in the air. Sarah thought about the alien ship's final message. Immune species discovered. Not friendly species or new contact, just immune. "Set course for Earth," Sarah ordered. "Maximum speed. We need to get home and prepare." "Prepare for what, Captain?" asked Marcus. Sarah looked at the stars ahead, thinking about the vast universe full of species they had never met, species with weapons that couldn't touch humanity. "I don't know. But something tells me that being immune to alien weapons isn't going to make us friends. It's going to make us the most terrifying thing they've ever encountered." The Pathfinder turned toward home, carrying news that would shake Earth to its core. Humanity was not alone in the universe. And somehow, by pure accident of evolution, they had become something no alien race had ever seen before. A species that couldn't be killed by conventional means. The age of human isolation was over. What came next, nobody could predict. 3 months had passed since the Pathfinder returned to Earth with its impossible story. Now, a fleet of alien ships surrounded humanity's solar system, and aboard the largest vessel, the greatest minds of the Galactic Concordat were trying to understand what humans were. High Scientist Velzaran stood in the research chamber, his 4 eyes fixed on the human specimen before him. The human called himself James and had volunteered for the tests. He sat calmly in a chair wearing only simple clothes while the most advanced weapons in the galaxy were pointed at him. "Begin test sequence 47, Velzaran commanded. A weapon discharged. Purple energy, designed to disrupt neural pathways in any known life form, struck James directly in the chest. The human didn't even flinch. The energy dissipated like morning mist. "Fascinating," whispered Velzaran. His assistant, a small floating creature named Pip, bobbed nervously beside him. "High Scientist, that was a neural disruptor. It can kill a Krathian battle beast in seconds. The human doesn't even feel it." Velzaran turned to James. "Human, did you sense anything?" James shrugged. A gesture that the translator had explained meant uncertainty or indifference. "Maybe a little warmth? Like standing in sunlight for a second. Nothing bad." Velzaran made notes in his data device. They had tested everything over the past weeks. Energy weapons, gravitational distortions, nanite swarms designed to break down organic matter. Even psychic attacks from the mindweavers of Scythos. Nothing worked on humans. Nothing even hurt them. "Let's try the quantum disassembler," Pip suggested quietly. Velzaran's translator chip made a sound that indicated disagreement. "No. The Universal Order has forbidden us from using weapons that might actually harm them. We are to study, not to kill. But High Scientist, how can we protect the Concordat if we can't even understand why they're immune?" It was a good question. Velzaran had been asking himself the same thing for weeks. He approached James, keeping a respectful distance. The human was young by their species standards, only 25 years old, but he seemed unafraid of the most powerful scientific minds in the galaxy. "James, I must ask you again, how do you feel?" "Truly?" James smiled. "I feel fine, Doc. A bit bored, maybe. When can I go home?" "Soon," Velzarin promised. "But first, we need to understand. Your species claims you knew nothing of your immunity before meeting us." "Is this true?" "Yeah, we never had a reason to know. We don't have energy weapons like yours. We use bullets, explosives, things that push and break. Physical stuff." Velzarin felt his primary heart skip a beat. "Physical weapons? You mean kinetic force?" "Sure, if that's what you call it. A gun shoots a piece of metal really fast. It hits you and makes a hole. Simple." The high scientist exchanged looks with Pip. In the thousands of years since the Concordat had formed, energy weapons had replaced all physical weaponry. They were cleaner, more efficient, more controllable. No Concordat species had used bullets for generations. They had forgotten that such simple methods could still kill. "High scientist," Pip said urgently. "If physical weapons can harm them, then they're not truly immune. They're just immune to our weapons specifically." "I know," Velzarin replied, his voice heavy with concern. "Which means the problem isn't that they're invincible. The problem is that we've evolved beyond the ability to fight them." Later that day, Velzarin presented his findings to the Concordat Science Council. Hundreds of species watched through holographic projection as he explained what they had learned. "The human body is unique," Velzarin began, displaying images of human cellular structure. "Their planet, Earth, has an unusually strong magnetic field and high levels of electromagnetic radiation. Over millions of years, humans evolved cellular structures that are highly resistant to electromagnetic interference. Their cells are, in essence, shielded at a molecular level." A counselor from the Zipheron Empire spoke up. "But our weapons work on electromagnetic principles. They disrupt matter by interfering with atomic bonds. Are you saying humans' atoms are different?" "Not different. Protected. Their bioelectric field, combined with their cellular structure, creates a natural barrier against all forms of exotic energy. Our weapons simply cannot interact with their matter the way they should." "What about their technology?" asked another counselor. "Their ship was also immune." Velzarin nodded. "Yes, it appears that when humans discovered metals and materials on their world, they naturally gravitated toward substances that shared their electromagnetic properties. Their ship hulls, their tools, even their clothing materials, all of them share this natural resistance. It's not intentional. It's just what was available on their planet." The council chamber erupted in worried discussion. Species spoke in hundreds of languages, all expressing the same fear. Velzarin raised his manipulator appendage for silence. "There is more," he said. "Humans are not invincible. Physical weapons, projectiles, blades, blunt force, all of these work normally on them. A simple thrown rock could kill a human just as easily as it could kill any of us. Then we simply build kinetic weapons," someone shouted. "It's not that simple," Velzarin replied. "We have forgotten how to make such weapons. Our factories, our technology, our entire military infrastructure is built around energy weapons. To switch to physical weaponry would take years, perhaps decades. We would need to redesign everything from the ground up." The Zipheron counselor leaned forward. "And in the meantime?" "In the meantime, humanity could expand into the galaxy, and we would be powerless to stop them with our current weapons." Silence fell over the council. The reality of the situation was sinking in. They had met a species that, through pure evolutionary accident, had become immune to 10,000 years of military advancement. "There is another concern," Velzarin continued. "I have been studying human history through their own records. Humans are a warlike species. They have been fighting each other since they gained intelligence. Wars, conflicts, violence, it's woven into their culture. And in all their battles, they used physical weapons. They are experts in kinetic warfare. While we have forgotten how to fight that way," Pip added, speaking for the first time to the council. A counselor from the Peaceful Harmonic Collective spoke up, her voice trembling. "High scientist, what do you recommend?" Velzarin had thought about this question for days. He had talked with James and the other human volunteers. He had studied their culture, their history, their psychology, and he had come to a conclusion that he knew the council wouldn't like. "Humans are dangerous," he said carefully, "but not because they're evil or aggressive by nature. They're dangerous because they're adaptable. They survived on a harsh world where everything tried to kill them. They learned to work together, to solve problems, to overcome any obstacle. If we treat them as enemies, they will become our greatest threat. They will learn our technology, improve it, and use it against us. Then what do you suggest? Asked the Zipheron counselor. That we simply allow them to spread across the galaxy unchecked? No, I suggest we quarantine them. Seal off their solar system. Give ourselves time to adapt, to rebuild our weapons, to prepare. But we must do this carefully. Humans respect strength, but they also value freedom. If we're too aggressive, we'll turn them from potential friends into certain enemies. The council debated for hours. Some wanted to destroy Earth immediately, despite the moral implications. Others wanted to welcome humans openly. But in the end, they followed Velzarin's advice. The vote was called. The Universal Order, the supreme governing body of the Concordat, made its decision. Humanity would be quarantined. The solar system would be sealed. And in secret, the Concordat would begin the long process of remembering how to fight with bullets and blades. Back in the research chamber, James was preparing to return to Earth. Velzarin came to say goodbye. What's going to happen now? James asked. Velzarin didn't lie. We're going to lock your species in your home system. For your safety and ours, James nodded slowly. Will it work? I don't know, Velzarin admitted. I hope so. Because if it doesn't, if humans break through our blockade or find ways around it, then everything I've seen of your species tells me that nothing in this galaxy will be able to stop you. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, James said with a small smile. Maybe the galaxy needs something new. Velzarin watched as the human walked away, escorted by guards back to his transport ship. The high scientist couldn't shake the feeling that James was right. The Concordat had become comfortable, secure in their superiority. Perhaps humanity's immunity to their weapons wasn't a threat. Perhaps it was a wake-up call. The blockade around Earth's solar system was complete. Hundreds of Concordat ships formed a perfect sphere around the sun, creating an impenetrable barrier. No human ship could leave. No one could enter. Humanity was trapped in their own home, and they were not happy about it. Admiral John Mitchell stood on the bridge of the United Earth Space Command headquarters, watching the holographic display of the blockade. Each red dot represented an alien ship, and there were too many to count. Behind him, representatives from every nation on Earth argued about what to do. We should attack, said General Zhang from the Asian Coalition. We know their weapons don't work on us. We could break through, and go where? Replied Ambassador Okoro from the African Union. We have 30 ships capable of deep space travel. They have thousands. Once we're past the blockade, we're in their territory, surrounded by their entire military. So we do nothing? General Zhang shot back. We accept being prisoners? Admiral Mitchell turned to face them. We prepare, he said firmly. The Concordat is afraid of us. That gives us leverage, but we need to be smart about it. As the argument continued, a junior officer approached Mitchell quietly. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's strange, it's not from the blockade. It's coming from outside the system, but it's bypassing the Concordat ships somehow. Mitchell frowned. Put it through, quietly. In his private office, Mitchell watched as an alien face appeared on the screen. This creature looked different from the Concordat species they had met. It had sleek features, dark eyes, and a smile that reminded Mitchell of a shark. Greetings, Admiral, the alien said in perfect English. My name is Therex. I represent certain business interests that are very interested in your situation. What kind of business interests? Mitchell asked carefully. The kind that sees opportunity where others see problems. The Concordat has quarantined you because they fear your immunity to their weapons. But we see potential, profitable potential. Mitchell leaned forward. You want to use us as weapons? Therex's smile widened. We want to offer you a partnership. We provide you with technology, resources, and information about Concordat movements. You provide us with soldiers, guards, and protection. Think about it, Admiral. Humans could go anywhere in the galaxy without fear of the most common weapons. You would be the perfect peacekeepers, the ideal security force. And if we refuse, then you stay trapped in your solar system while the Concordat slowly builds weapons that can harm you. They're already working on it, you know. Kinetic weapons. Old-fashioned bullets and missiles. Give them a few years and your immunity becomes worthless. Mitchell felt his stomach turn. How do we know you're telling the truth? Therex sent a data package. Here's proof. Concordat military communications, manufacturing orders, research documents. They're preparing for war with you, Admiral. The only question is whether you'll be ready when they come. The transmission ended. leaving Mitchell alone with the decision that could change humanity's future. He looked at the data package. If it was real, Earth had very little time to prepare. Over the next weeks, more aliens made contact with Earth. Some were criminals looking for muscle. Others were legitimate corporations seeing a business opportunity. A few were even concordate species who disagreed with the quarantine and wanted to help humanity. A black market formed quickly. Human volunteers were smuggled through the blockade using methods the Concordate hadn't anticipated. Small ships that could avoid detection, old smuggling routes through asteroid fields, bribery of sympathetic Concordate officers who thought the quarantine was wrong. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was one of the first to leave Earth illegally. She and 50 other soldiers volunteered to work for the Thrazon Corporation, protecting their mining operations in the Outer Rim. The pay was incredible, and more importantly, they would learn about alien technology and the galaxy beyond their prison. Sarah stood in the cargo hold of a smuggler's ship, trying not to think about the fact that she was committing treason. Around her, other human soldiers checked their equipment. They carried traditional Earth weapons, rifles, pistols, grenades, because those were what worked. "You nervous?" asked Private Marcus Chen, a young man from New Beijing. "Terrified," Sarah admitted. "We're leaving Earth, breaking a galactic quarantine, and going to work for aliens we just met. What could go wrong?" Marcus laughed, but it was a nervous sound. "My grandmother used to say that humans were too stubborn to stay put." I guess she was right. The ship shuddered as it approached the blockade. Everyone held their breath. Then, impossibly, they were through. The smuggler had found a gap in the Concordate's coverage, a blind spot that shouldn't have existed. Earth fell away behind them, and suddenly they were free, flying through open space toward their new lives as mercenaries. On Earth, governments struggled to control the situation. Officially, they condemned anyone who left the solar system. Unofficially, they encouraged it. Every human who got out was another person learning about alien technology, making contacts, and preparing for the day when the quarantine would end. Dr. Patricia Holden worked in a secret laboratory beneath the Arctic ice. She studied alien technology that had been smuggled back to Earth, trying to understand how it worked and how humans could use it. "This is incredible," she said to her assistant, examining a Concordate shield generator. "Their technology is based on principles we never discovered because we never needed to. Energy manipulation at the quantum level. We use circuits in computers. They use fields and frequencies. Can we copy it?" Her assistant asked. "Better. We can adapt it. See, their shields don't work on humans because they're designed to stop energy weapons. But if we modify the frequency, adjust the harmonics, we can create shields that do work for us. Shields that stop physical weapons. So we'd be protected against the weapons we're vulnerable to?" "Exactly. And if we can put this on our ships, combine it with our natural immunity to energy weapons." Patricia smiled. "We'd be almost invincible." The work continued in secret. Earth's military-industrial complex, which had been winding down after decades of peace following global unification, suddenly roared back to life. Factories that once made consumer goods now produced weapons. Shipyards expanded. Training facilities opened. And outside the solar system, human mercenaries were becoming famous. Sarah and her team had successfully defended 3 Thrazon mining operations from pirate attacks. Word spread quickly. Humans couldn't be killed by normal weapons. They were tough, smart, and fearless. Soon corporations and even some governments were requesting human security forces. "We're becoming a legend," Marcus said one evening as they traveled between jobs. "I heard someone call us the Unkillables." Sarah wasn't sure if that was a good thing. "We're also becoming a target. The Concordate isn't going to like this." She was right. Within months, Concordate intelligence agencies reported that human mercenaries were spreading across the galaxy. Hundreds, then thousands of humans were leaving Earth through the increasingly ineffective blockade. They worked as guards, soldiers, enforcers, and sometimes as criminals. The Universal Order held an emergency session. High Scientist Velzarin was called to testify. "The quarantine has failed," he told the council. "Humans are leaving their solar system, and we cannot stop them without using force that might escalate to full war." "Then we use force," demanded the Zipheron counselor. "We destroy their smuggling ships. We arrest the humans we find. We enforce the quarantine properly." "And what happens when humans retaliate?" asked a counselor from the Harmonic Collective. "We've already seen reports of human mercenaries fighting Concordate forces. They win more often than they lose because our weapons don't work on them. Our new kinetic weapons will be ready soon, the Zifferon insisted. Velzerin shook his head. Not soon enough. And by the time they are, humans will have adapted our shield technology. We're already seeing evidence of this. They learn faster than any species we've encountered. The debate raged, but no solution emerged. The quarantine was breaking down and nobody knew how to fix it. Worse, several concordate species were beginning to question the Universal Order's authority. If they couldn't even contain one primitive species, what was the point of their leadership? On Earth, Admiral Mitchell received another transmission from Therex. Congratulations, Admiral. Your people are thriving out here. I have a proposition for you. I'm listening, Mitchell said carefully. Several minor species want to form a new alliance, one not controlled by the Concordate. They want humans to be part of it. Equal partners, not subordinates. What do you say? Mitchell thought about it. Earth was still trapped, but humans were spreading across the galaxy. They were learning, adapting, and growing stronger every day. The Concordate's attempt to contain them had failed. Send me the details, Mitchell said. Let's talk. As the transmission ended, Mitchell looked at Earth below. The quarantine was supposed to protect the galaxy from humanity. Instead, it had forced humans to become exactly what the Concordate feared most. A united, determined species with something to prove and nothing to lose. The age of human containment was ending. What came next would reshape the entire galaxy. The Concordate weapons facility on Theron Prime hummed with activity day and night. Inside its secure laboratories, scientists and engineers worked desperately to create something they hadn't built in thousands of years. Guns that fired bullets. Chief Engineer Nalthix examined the prototype weapon with his 6 sensory stalks, frustration evident in his chemical signals. The device was crude compared to their elegant energy weapons, but it worked. It fired a small metal projectile at high speed using explosive force. Ancient technology, barbaric even, but it could kill humans. Test it again, Nalthix ordered. A junior engineer activated the weapon, aiming at a ballistic gel dummy designed to simulate human tissue. The gun roared, an ugly, loud sound that hurt Nalthix's audio receptors. The projectile tore through the dummy, leaving a gaping hole. Success, the junior engineer reported. The human simulation shows fatal damage. Then begin mass production, Nalthix said. The Concordate needs 10 million of these weapons within the year. 10 million. Nalthix couldn't help but feel they were preparing for a war that should never have started. All because one species happened to be immune to their technology. Across the galaxy on the human colony ship New Dawn, Dr. Patricia Holden was solving the opposite problem. She stood in the engineering bay, watching as technicians installed the latest version of their hybrid shield system. It's beautiful, said Captain Rodriguez, the ship's commander. Concordate shield technology modified for human use. Will it work? Patricia nodded confidently. Their shields operate on exotic energy principles that protect against energy weapons, but do nothing against physical projectiles. We've reversed the polarity and adjusted the frequency. Our shields will stop bullets, missiles, and any kinetic weapon, but they're transparent to energy weapons, which don't hurt us anyway. So we're protected against everything? In theory. Let's test it. They moved to a safe distance and Patricia remotely activated the shields. A shimmering field appeared around the New Dawn, barely visible but definitely present. A drone fired a test missile at the ship. The weapon struck the shield and exploded harmlessly. Its energy absorbed and dispersed. Perfect, Patricia breathed. Now we need to share this with every human ship. But sharing technology was becoming complicated. Humanity had fractured during the quarantine. Some humans worked with the Concordate's enemies. Others tried to maintain peaceful relations. Many had formed independent groups, each with their own agenda. Sarah Kim, now a commander in the Free Human Security Force, faced this problem firsthand. Her mercenary company had grown to over 5,000 soldiers, and they were caught between two sides of a brewing war. We've received contracts from both the Concordate and the Opposition Alliance, her second-in-command, Marcus Chen, reported during a briefing. The Concordate wants us to help suppress rebellious colonies. The Opposition wants us to protect those same colonies. Sarah rubbed her temples. And if we choose one side, we make enemies of the other. How many other human groups are facing this choice? All of them. The galaxy is splitting into factions. and everyone wants humans on their side because we're the only ones immune to standard weapons. Until the Concordat finishes their kinetic weapons. Even then, we'll have advantages. We know how to fight with physical weapons. Most Concordat species haven't fired a bullet in centuries, and we're getting better at adapting their technology. Sarah stood and walked to the viewport looking at the stars. We never wanted this. We just wanted to explore, to meet other species, to find our place in the galaxy. Instead, we've become the most sought-after soldiers in history. Maybe that is our place, Marcus suggested. Maybe humans are meant to be warriors. I hope not. Because if we're only good for fighting, what happens when the fighting stops? On Earth, Admiral Mitchell faced a different crisis. The planet was becoming a fortress, heavily armed and isolated. But more concerning was the message he had just received from human groups across the galaxy. They were requesting permission to return home, not to stay but to bring their families and resources. They wanted to evacuate Earth. They think we're going to lose, Mitchell said to Ambassador Okoro. They think the Concordat will eventually break through and destroy us. Can you blame them? Okoro replied. We're one planet against an empire of thousands of worlds. Even with our advantages, those aren't good odds. But if we evacuate Earth, we're admitting defeat before the battle even starts. Or, we're ensuring humanity survives no matter what happens to our homeworld. Our people have spread across the galaxy. Even if Earth falls, humanity continues. Mitchell knew she was right, but the idea of abandoning Earth hurt deep in his soul. Still, he had a responsibility to think beyond his feelings. Approve the evacuations. Priority to children and families. But keep it quiet. I don't want panic. The arms race accelerated. The Concordat rushed to deploy their new kinetic weapons, training soldiers in tactics their ancestors had forgotten. Meanwhile, humans reverse-engineered and improved every piece of alien technology they could get their hands on. Human ships began appearing with hybrid designs, Earth engineering combined with Concordat technology. They were faster than pure human ships, tougher than Concordat vessels, and completely unique in their capabilities. The Defiance was the first of these hybrid warships. Captain Jennifer Williams commanded a crew of 200 humans and a ship that represented everything humanity had learned in just 2 years of contact with alien civilizations. All systems check, reported her tactical officer. Energy shields at full power, kinetic shields online, weapons loaded. We're ready for anything. Let's hope we don't have to be, Jennifer said. But she knew better. Tensions were rising, and somewhere, sometime soon, a mistake would turn this Cold War hot. That mistake came in the Seraphim system. A Concordat patrol encountered a human merchant vessel, carrying supplies to an opposition colony. The Concordat captain, operating under new aggressive orders, demanded the humans surrender their cargo. The humans refused. The Concordat ship, now armed with kinetic weapons, opened fire, but the human ship had shields. The bullets bounced off harmlessly. The humans returned fire with modified Concordat energy weapons, which they could use despite being immune to them. The Concordat ship's shields failed to stop the unexpected attack. Within minutes, the Concordat vessel was disabled, drifting helplessly in space. The humans didn't destroy it. They could have, but they chose mercy. They transmitted a message. We don't want war, but we won't be victims. Tell your superiors that if they want peace, we're ready to talk. If they want war, we're ready for that too. News of the incident spread like wildfire. The first battle between armed humans and the Concordat had ended in complete human victory. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. On Theron Prime, Nalthix received reports of the battle with growing dread. Their kinetic weapons had failed. Human shields had stopped them. The technological advantage they had spent years developing was already obsolete. How is this possible? He demanded. We just developed these weapons. How do humans already have defenses against them? They learn faster than we anticipated, his assistant explained. Every piece of technology we create, they study, adapt, and improve. They're evolving their capabilities at an exponential rate. Nalthix sat down, his stalks drooping. Then we can't win an arms race against them. Every time we advance, they advance further. What do we do? It was a question that echoed across the Concordat. What could they do against a species that learned so quickly, that couldn't be killed by conventional weapons, and that was now spreading across the galaxy faster than anyone could control? Some called for total war. Others advocated immediate peace. But the largest group simply waited, hoping someone would find a solution before it was too late. High Scientist Velzaran, watching all of this unfold, came to a disturbing conclusion. The conflict wasn't about weapons or territory or even fear. It was about change. The Concordat had existed unchanged for thousands of years, comfortable in their superiority. Humanity represented something they had forgotten how to handle, a true challenge. We created this problem, Velzaran told the Universal Order in a closed session. We responded to humanity's immunity with fear instead of curiosity. We tried to contain them instead of welcoming them. Every action we've taken has pushed them further from us and made them stronger. The arms race isn't a solution. It's a symptom of our failure. Then what is the solution? Asked the Harmonic Collective Counselor. Velzaran took a deep breath, preparing to suggest something that would shock the Council to its core. We talk to them, not as superiors to subordinates, not as conquerors to the conquered, but as equals. We invite humanity to join the Concordat as full members, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The council chamber erupted in shouting. It was the most controversial suggestion ever made to the Universal Order. But as the debate raged, one fact became clear. The alternative was a war that nobody could win. The Grand Assembly Hall in Concordat Prime had never seen anything like this. Representatives from 3,000 species filled the massive chamber, but all eyes were on the small delegation from Earth walking down the central aisle. Admiral John Mitchell led the human group, flanked by Ambassador Okoro and Dr. Patricia Holden. Behind them walked representatives from various human factions: mercenaries, colonists, corporate leaders, and military officers. They moved with quiet confidence, aware that the fate of their species rested on what happened in this room. High Scientist Velzaran waited at the central podium, his four eyes reflecting the lights from 1,000 view screens. This was being broadcast across the entire galaxy. Whatever happened here would change everything. People of the Concordat, Velzaran began, his voice translated into thousands of languages simultaneously. We gathered today to address the crisis that has threatened our peace for 2 years. The human question, as some call it, cannot be solved through force or containment. Today we will try a different approach. We will listen. Mitchell stepped forward. He had rehearsed this speech 100 times, but now, facing thousands of alien species, the words felt inadequate. Still, he had to try. 2 years ago, my species made first contact with your civilization. We came in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. Instead, we were attacked. Not because we had done anything wrong, but because we were different. Because our biology, through pure accident of evolution, made us immune to your weapons. He paused, letting the words sink in. You feared us. That fear led to quarantine, which led to conflict, which brought us here. But I want you to understand something important. We never wanted to be your enemies. We never wanted to be weapons or soldiers or threats. We just wanted to be part of something bigger than ourselves. A murmur ran through the assembly. Mitchell continued, his voice growing stronger. Yes, we're immune to energy weapons. Yes, we've learned to adapt your technology faster than you expected. Yes, we've proven to be effective fighters. But these are just facts about what we can do, not who we are. Humans are explorers, scientists, artists, and dreamers. We're also stubborn, curious, and maybe a bit reckless. We make mistakes, but we learn from them. Ambassador Okoro stepped forward. The quarantine failed not because humans are dangerous, but because we refuse to accept being caged. Every species here would have done the same. You would have fought for your freedom, just as we did. The difference is we had an advantage that made it possible. But that advantage comes with a cost, Dr. Holden added. Yes, we're immune to most of your weapons. But we're also vulnerable in ways you're not. We need oxygen to breathe. We can't survive in extreme temperatures. We get sick from pathogens. We're not superior to you. We're just different. The Zipheron counselor, who had been one of the most vocal opponents of humanity, stood up. You say you want peace, but your mercenaries fight across the galaxy. Your ships are armed with weapons you learned from our technology. How can we trust you? Mitchell met the counselor's gaze directly. Because we're offering you something no one has offered before. We're proposing that our immunity be shared, not hoarded. We want to work with your scientists to understand why we're immune. Maybe that knowledge can help all species develop better defenses. Maybe it can lead to new technologies that benefit everyone. You would share your greatest advantage? Velzaran asked, surprise clear in his voice. It's not really an advantage if it keeps us isolated and feared, Okoro replied. We'd rather be trusted allies than powerful enemies." A long silence fell over the assembly. Then, unexpectedly, a representative from the Harmonic Collective stood. They were a species known for their peaceful nature and wisdom. "I have a question for the human delegates. If we accept you into the Concordat as full members, with all rights and privileges, will you accept our laws and customs? Will you submit to Concordat authority?" Mitchell had prepared for this question. It was the heart of the matter. "We'll accept membership if it's genuine, not as subordinates or junior partners, but as equals. We'll follow reasonable laws that apply to all species equally, but we won't accept discrimination or special restrictions just because we're different. And we insist on having a voice in Concordat decisions just like every other member species." "That's unprecedented," someone muttered. "So is a species immune to your weapons," Mitchell countered. "Everything about this situation is unprecedented. We're offering you a chance to turn a crisis into an opportunity. Humanity can be your greatest ally or your worst nightmare. The choice is yours." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Representatives argued, negotiated, and compromised. Some species supported humanity immediately. Others remained hostile or fearful. But gradually a consensus emerged. Velzarin finally called for a vote. "The question before this assembly is simple. Do we invite humanity to join the Galactic Concordat as full members, with all rights and responsibilities, including representation in the Universal Order?" The voting began. Each species cast their decision, their choice displayed on the massive screens around the chamber. Mitchell watched the numbers climb, his heart pounding. They needed a 2/3 majority. The final count appeared 67.3% in favor. Humanity was officially part of the Concordat. The chamber erupted in a mix of celebration and protest. Mitchell felt relief wash over him, but he knew this was just the beginning. Convincing the Concordat to accept humanity was one thing. Making it work would be much harder. Over the next months, the integration process began. Human mercenary companies were reorganized into official Concordat security forces. Human colonies received recognition and support. Earth's quarantine was lifted, and trade between humanity and other species began in earnest. But not everyone was happy. Some radical Concordat groups continued to see humans as threats. Some human factions felt that joining the Concordat was surrender rather than victory. Tensions remained high, and incidents occurred. Sarah Kim found herself working as a liaison between human forces and traditional Concordat military. It was frustrating work, dealing with species who still feared or resented humans, but it was important. "They still don't trust us," Marcus said one day, watching Concordat soldiers train with kinetic weapons they barely knew how to use. "Can you blame them?" Sarah replied. "We appeared out of nowhere, immune to their weapons, and forced them to change everything about how they think of security and warfare. Trust takes time. How much time? However long it takes." The real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Holden and High Scientist Velzarin, working together, made a discovery that changed everything. By studying human cellular structure and comparing it to other species, they found a way to modify Concordat shield technology to provide limited energy weapon resistance to non-human species. "It's not perfect immunity like humans have," Velzarin explained in a joint announcement, "but it provides significant protection, and the technology works for all Concordat species." "This is what we wanted from the beginning," Patricia added, "not to be special or superior, but to help everyone be safer." The discovery did more to build trust than any political speech could have. Suddenly, humanity's immunity wasn't a unique threat. It was a template for universal improvement. The galaxy began to see humans not as dangerous anomalies, but as innovative partners. The Universal Order underwent its first major restructuring in 1,000 years. Humanity was given seats on the Council, proportional to their population. But more importantly, the entire governance system was reformed to be more inclusive and responsive. The Human Immunity Clause, as it became known, was added to Concordat law. No species could be quarantined or discriminated against simply for having natural abilities others lacked. Admiral Mitchell, now serving as Earth's representative to the Universal Order, reflected on how far they had come. Just 2 years ago, humanity had been alone in the universe. Now they were part of a galactic community, contributing their unique perspectives and abilities. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Ambassador Okoro asked him one day as they watched human and alien children playing together in a diplomatic garden. joining them instead of standing alone. Mitchell watched a human child teaching an alien how to kick a soccer ball. The alien species had no concept of competitive sports, but they were laughing, a universal sound that transcended species. "Yes," Mitchell said. "We're not perfect, and neither is the Concordat. But together we're better than we were apart. Humanity's immunity to their weapons forced us to find each other. What we do with that connection is up to us." "Poetic," Okoro said with a smile. "I didn't know you had it in you, Admiral. Former Admiral. I'm a politician now. It comes with the job." They both laughed, and in that moment, Mitchell felt something he hadn't felt since before first contact. Hope. Not just for humanity, but for every species in the galaxy. The universe was vast and full of challenges. There would be more conflicts, more misunderstandings, more crises to overcome. But humanity had proven something important. Being different didn't have to mean being enemies. Sometimes the things that made you unique were exactly what the universe needed. And somewhere in the galaxy, a young human on their first exploration mission encountered a new alien species. This time, when weapons were raised, both sides stopped, talked, and chose understanding over fear. Because the Concordat had learned its lesson, differences weren't dangers to be contained. They were opportunities to grow. And humanity, immune to the galaxy's weapons but not to its hopes and dreams, had become the living proof of that truth.